When it comes to hitboxes and sidestepping in Tekken, things can feel a little odd. Sometimes you sidestep an attack, you get clipped, and then you feel punished for doing everything correct. But sometimes what's actually occurring is that you're doing 90% of the response perfectly, and then messing up that last 10%. I'm going to go through that secret 10% here that proves that Tekken is somewhat a 3D game, and how you can refine your lateral movement overall. Now, a precursor to all of this, I've tried researching this specific topic to the best of my abilities, but even at the highest level, people say contradicting things. So the symptom I propose for this problem seems to be correct from what I can see in the game, but much better players sometimes say alternative things. So with all that said, let's get into some gameplay. So we're here in Tekken 7, and I'm going to try and keep the editing to a minimum, but I will have to talk over the footage rather than play it myself, because a lot of it will entail some camera software and setting up scenes, which can be very annoying to watch people do. So, before I get into the core subject of this video, I'm going to give you an abridged version of one of my videos on my main channel where I talk about lateral movement, and just give you some basic stuff so we're all on the same page before we get into the core aspect. So first off, certain moves have a preferred direction to step so that you can avoid them, which doesn't mean you need to memorize like a billion things. You just need to lab a few things such as Cass's Hell Sweep to make sure that you step in the right direction, because if you step left, you'll avoid it, but if you step right, you'll still get clipped. And especially with things like Cass's Hell Sweep, you'll actually have to sidewalk it because you don't get enough lateral movement to gain enough ground to avoid the second hit. Secondly, if you're at a frame disadvantage, it becomes much more difficult to step moves where at a certain point, I'm gonna say like -5, it's pretty much a very bad idea to sidestep, because even jabs will clip you. Most of the time this happens, it is a little bit finicky with certain moves and with certain characters, but a general rule of thumb, sidestepping at -4 or better is a pretty good idea. Otherwise you run the risk of getting hit by pretty much any move in the game. Another thing that you want to take into account is the opponent's ability to realign themselves even though you sidestep or sidewalk. So it can be as basic as just walking forward or dashing, but like a lot of the time it will be, say, a Mishima wave dashing in front of you to realign himself so he can do the Hell Sweep or an electric. It's really annoying to deal with. So what that means is that you have a very small window out of your sidestep that you can actually punish your opponent, and if you don't, there's a very good chance that they will realign themselves and hit you with even the most linear moves. Another thing that I want to talk about is that depending on the range between you and your opponent, you'll get more degrees of lateral movement the closer you are. So if you're at range 0, giving them a kiss, you'll end up at their back, whereas if you're at range 5, you'll kind of just move slightly to the left and still have the ability to get hit by certain moves. So certain moves have more tracking at certain ranges. It's just something that you do need to be aware of. And yeah, so after all of that, you may still get clipped even when taking all of this into account. So what I want to talk about is that you can halt your momentum when doing a sidestep by doing a few things. One is inputting a direction to dash or block. You may crouch, which can stop it, or by doing what is most likely screwing you up, which is inputting an attack. So I'm going to tell you what people have told me first, and then I'm going to show you what I found. Players like to say that when you input a command, your hurt box expands, meaning that the area that your opponent can strike is now larger. So they're not really wrong, but what happens is that they probably mistake expand for extend, and that may be pulling hairs, but it is different because Tekken doesn't have like 2D hitboxes like other games. We can see that they have more like cylinders which originate at various body parts, including the limbs, meaning that if you attack with a certain limb, that limb may connect with the opponent's attack during its startup animation,
when no hitbox has been populated, meaning that you'll get clipped because your hurtbox comes into contact with their hitbox, even though you've stepped. And yeah, it's as simple as that. Now, in my opinion, most of the time when people step and press a button, they're cutting their lateral movement so short that is the main cause of them getting a hit. It's not the fact that they're actually causing their hurtbox to get clipped, even though that definitely is the case when it comes to things like Hey Archie's forward forward 2. His hitbox for that move originates so low to the ground and so high up. They're like two disjointed hitboxes that it clips your feet and it clips your head if you try to do any move, even if you're totally at his back. That it is something that you definitely have to confirm has fully whiffed before you punish with a back turn juggle. But yeah, that is all I really had for this video, and I want to keep it as basic as possible. So yeah, when you sidestep, make sure you see a whiff before you punish, because if you don't, hey, your hurtbox may get clipped and you'll be raging on the forums saying that Tekken has no 3D movement, which I digress, seems to be the case at least in terms of other Tekken games, but hey, it's got more 3D movement than Street Fighter V, which I'm appreciative of. Alright, I'm out of here guys, peace.